Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're journeying back in time to an age of myth, legend, and incredible human achievement. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the deep blue sea of the ancient Mediterranean, its waves rolling softly against a golden shore. The sun is low, its last rays shimmering across the horizon, and far away, a city glows with promise and wonder. This is Alexandria, the jewel of Egypt. The year is 290 BCE. Alexander the Great has been gone for decades, but his dream, a city unlike any other, is thriving. Built at the meeting point of land and sea, Alexandria stands proudly between the Nile Delta and the open Mediterranean. Its harbors are a vibrant mosaic of life, filled with ships from every corner of the known world. You'd see Phoenician traders with their brightly colored sails, Greek scholars arriving in search of wisdom, and local Egyptian fishermen returning with the day's catch from the reefs. It's a city where the wisdom of Greece, the mystery of the Nile, and the ambitions of kings all converge to shape history. Overlooking this magnificent scene, at the edge of the eastern harbor, lies a small, rocky island named Pharos. It's a place of stark cliffs, white sands, and the endless whisper of the tide. But for the sailors of that ancient age, the sea was not just beautiful. It was a dangerous, unpredictable mystery. When sudden storms rose and the blackness of night fell, many ships never found their way home. They desperately needed a guide, a beacon to cut through the darkness and lead them to safety. It is here, on this very island, that one of the greatest marvels of humankind was born. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, also known as the Pharos. This wasn't just a simple tower with a fire. The vision for the Pharos was as grand as Alexandria itself. The man who commissioned this monumental project was Ptolemy I, a brilliant general who served under Alexander the Great. After Alexander's death, Ptolemy seized control of Egypt and declared himself pharaoh, establishing a dynasty that would rule for nearly 3 centuries. He was not just a conqueror. He was a patron of the arts and sciences, the man who founded the legendary Library of Alexandria. He understood that for his city to be the true center of the world, it needed to be both a beacon of knowledge and a safe haven for trade. The task of designing this wonder fell to a Greek architect and engineer named Sostratus of Nice. Sostratus was a master of his craft, and he knew this project would be his legacy. The challenge was immense. How do you build a structure tall enough to be seen for miles, strong enough to withstand the relentless power of the sea, and bright enough to pierce through the darkest storms? The materials had to be chosen with extreme care. Limestone blocks, quarried from the nearby hills, would form the main structure. But for the parts exposed to the constant assault of saltwater and waves, they used something stronger. Granite, a much harder stone, held together with a special mortar made from molten lead to ensure it would endure for centuries. Construction began around 280 BCE and took over a decade to complete. Imagine the scene. Thousands of workers, a symphony of hammers and chisels, a slow, steady ascent towards the sky. The Pharos was built in 3 distinct stages, each with its own unique design. The base was a massive square fortress, solid and unyielding, housing rooms for the keepers and soldiers who guarded it. Above that rose an octagonal midsection, its 8 sides elegantly tapering upwards, and at the very top, a circular tower crowned the entire structure, leading to the lantern room where the magic truly happened. Feeney said the Lighthouse of Alexandria stood at a breathtaking height, estimated to be over 120 meters, or nearly 400 feet tall. For perspective, that's roughly the height of a 40-story modern building. For over 1,000 years, it was one of the tallest man-made structures on Earth, second only to the Great Pyramid of Giza. It was a true skyscraper of the ancient world. But how did it actually work? How did it produce a light so powerful it could be seen up to 35 miles away? During the day, a massive, highly polished bronze mirror, likely curved, was used to reflect the sun's rays. It would have acted like a colossal magnifying glass, creating a brilliant beam of light that flashed across the sea, a heliograph signaling the way to Alexandria's harbor. At night, the real spectacle began. A great bonfire was lit in the lantern room, its flames fueled by wood or possibly oil. The smoke was cleverly channeled out, while the light from the roaring fire was captured and directed by that same incredible mirror. This beam of firelight became a constant, unwavering star on the horizon, a promise of safety to weary sailors. It wasn't just a static light. Ancient accounts suggest the mirror could be rotated, allowing the keepers to sweep the beam across the sea, actively guiding ships, and perhaps even scanning for potential threats. The Pharos was far more than just a navigational aid. It was a powerful symbol of Ptolemy's wealth, ingenuity, and control over the seas. It was a statement to the world. This is Alexandria, the greatest city on Earth. Approach and be amazed. Imagine being a trader from a distant land, having spent weeks at sea. After days of seeing nothing but water and sky, you spot a faint glint on the horizon. As you draw closer, that glint grows into a towering column of white stone, a man-made mountain crowned with light. The sheer scale of it would have been awe-inspiring, almost divine. It was a tourist attraction, a military watchtower, and a scientific marvel, all in one. People traveled from all over the known world just to see it, their accounts filled with wonder and disbelief. For over 1,500 years, the Lighthouse of Alexandria stood against storms, waves, and the passage of time. It guided countless ships, saved innumerable lives, and became a legendary fixture of the Mediterranean world. It witnessed the rise and fall of dynasties, the arrival of Roman legions, and the dawn of new faiths. It saw Cleopatra and Caesar, and it outlasted the Roman Empire itself. But nothing, not even the greatest wonders, can last forever. The beginning of the end came not from an invading army, but from the earth itself. A series of powerful earthquakes, starting in the 4th century AD, and continuing for 1,000 years, began to shake its foundations. The first major quake in 365 AD caused significant damage, creating cracks in its mighty structure. More tremors in the 8th and 10th centuries weakened it further, toppling the upper sections. Yet, even in its damaged state, the base remained a formidable fortress. Arab rulers who controlled Egypt at the time repurposed it, building a small mosque on top. But the final, devastating blow came in the 14th century. Two massive earthquakes, one in 1303 and another in 1323, proved to be too much. The last remaining stones of the once mighty Pharos crumbled and slid into the sea, where they lay forgotten for centuries. The light that had burned for over a millennium was finally extinguished. By the 15th century, the Sultan of Egypt, Ketbeh, built a defensive fort on the site of the lighthouse's foundations, using some of the fallen stones from the ancient wonder in its construction. And for a long time, that was the end of the story. The pharaohs lived on only in ancient texts and legendary tiles, a ghost on the shores of Alexandria. But the story doesn't quite end there. In 1994, a team of marine archaeologists, led by Genevieve Pira, made an incredible discovery in the waters of the Eastern Harbor. There, lying on the seabed, were thousands of massive stone blocks, columns, and even colossal statues that had once adorned the lighthouse. It was the lost wonder rediscovered. Using advanced underwater technology, they were able to map the site and identify pieces that matched the descriptions from ancient writers. They found sphinx, obelisks, and fragments of statues of Ptolemaic kings and queens, likely Ptolemy II and his wife, Arsinoe, who were deified and worshipped as savior gods, fitting for a life-saving structure. These submerged ruins are a silent, haunting testament to the grandeur of the Pharos. Today, there are plans and dreams of creating an underwater museum, allowing visitors to dive among the remnants of this wonder, to see for themselves the stones that once touched the sky. The lighthouse may be gone, but its spirit endures, not just in the stones beneath the waves, but in every lighthouse that stands on every shore around the world today. It was the blueprint, the original inspiration that has guided sailors home for 2 millennia. The Pharos of Alexandria was more than just a building. It was a symbol of human ambition, our desire to conquer the darkness, to build something that lasts, and to light the way for others. It reminds us that even the greatest creations can fall, but the ideas they represent can shine on forever. Imagine the deep, sapphire blue of the ancient Mediterranean Sea, its waves gently kissing a golden shore. The sun hangs low in the sky, painting the horizon with fiery streaks of orange and pink, its last rays shimmering across the water's surface. In the distance, a city glows with promise and wonder. This is Alexandria, the jewel of Egypt. Here, in this magnificent city, the profound wisdom of Greece, the timeless mystery of the Nile, and the grand ambitions of kings converge to shape the course of history. And it is more than 2,000 years ago that one of the greatest marvels of the ancient world was conceived. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, known to all as the Pharos. It wasn't just a tower. It was a beacon of hope, a symbol of human ingenuity, and a testament to an empire at its peak. The story begins not with stone and mortar, but with a vision. Alexander the Great, a man whose name still echoes through the ages, founded this city in 331 BC. He saw a port perfectly positioned to bridge the east and the west, a hub for trade, culture, and knowledge. After his death, his empire was divided, and Egypt fell to one of his most trusted generals, Ptolemy I, who crowned himself pharaoh and began a new dynasty. Ptolemy was a clever and ambitious ruler. He understood that for Alexandria to truly flourish, its harbor needed to be safe and accessible to sailors from across the known world. The coastline here was treacherous, riddled with hidden reefs and sandbanks that could spell disaster for even the most experienced mariners. Day and night, ships laden with precious cargo and priceless knowledge risked everything to reach the city's shores. A guiding light was not just a convenience, it was a necessity. So, Ptolemy commissioned a project of unprecedented scale and audacity. He envisioned a structure so tall it would seem to touch the heavens, with a light so powerful it could be seen from 50 kilometers away. He tasked the brilliant architect Sostratus of Cnidus with bringing this dream to life. The location was chosen with strategic precision, the small island of Pharos, connected to the mainland by a man-made causeway. Construction began around 280 BC, and for the next 20 years, thousands of laborers worked tirelessly, quarrying massive blocks of limestone and granite, and hoisting them to dizzying heights. The Pharos was a masterpiece of engineering and art. Rising over 100 meters, it was one of the tallest man-made structures of its time, second only to the Great Pyramid of Giza. Imagine its three-tiered design: a square base, a central octagonal section, and a circular top. Each level was adorned with intricate carvings and statues, a celebration of the Ptolemaic dynasty's power and divine connection. At its very peak, a magnificent statue, possibly of Zeus or the sun god Helios, stood watch over the sea. But the true marvel lay within. During the day, a massive, polished bronze mirror, curved to perfection, would reflect the sun's rays, creating a brilliant beam visible for miles. At night, a great fire was lit at its summit. The logistics of keeping this fire burning was staggering. An endless procession of pack animals would have trudged up a vast internal ramp, hauling fuel to the top. The light from this fire, magnified and directed by the same incredible mirror, became a star on the horizon, a constant, unwavering guide for sailors navigating the dark and unpredictable waters. For centuries, the Pharos was more than just a lighthouse. It was a symbol of Alexandria itself, a beacon of enlightenment, science, and prosperity. Scholars at the legendary Library of Alexandria would look up at its towering form, inspired by its blend of art and science. Merchants arriving in the bustling port would gaze at it with a sense of awe and relief. It was featured on coins, celebrated in poems, and became a must-see destination for travelers from across the Roman Empire. It was a true wonder of the world. But like all great things, its time was not infinite. The Mediterranean is a powerful force, and over the centuries, the region was rocked by a series of devastating earthquakes. The first major tremor in 956 AD caused cracks to appear in its mighty structure. Another in 1303 caused significant damage, and a final catastrophic quake in 1323 brought the once mighty tower to its knees. The great beacon was extinguished, and its stones tumbled into the very sea it had been built to tame. For a time, its ruins remained a poignant landmark. But by the 15th century, the Sultan of Egypt, Bey, decided to fortify the harbor against invaders. He used the fallen stones of the legendary Pharos to build a defensive fort on its original foundation. The citadel of Bey still stands there today, a silent monument built from the remnants of a wonder. The lighthouse was gone, but its legacy was literally set in stone. Even though the physical structure has vanished, the Pharos lives on. The word Pharos itself became the root for lighthouse in many languages, from French and Italian to Spanish and Romanian. Its story continues to inspire architects, engineers, and dreamers. It reminds us that even the most ambitious visions can be realized through human collaboration and ingenuity. It stands as a powerful metaphor for knowledge, hope, and guidance in times of darkness. The Lighthouse of Alexandria was a shining light in the ancient world, a testament to a civilization that dared to reach for the sky. Its glow may have faded, but its story continues to illuminate our imagination. A timeless beacon in the vast ocean of history. The sun is low, its last rays shimmering across the horizon, and far away a city glows with promise and wonder. This is Alexandria, the jewel of Egypt, a city where the wisdom of Greece, the mystery of the Nile, and the ambitions of kings come together to shape history. It is here, 2,000 years ago, that one of the greatest marvels of humankind was born. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, also known as the Pharos. The story begins in the year 290 BC. Alexander the Great has been gone for decades, but his dream still lives, a city unlike any other, built at the meeting point of land and sea. Alexandria stands proudly between the Nile, Delta, and the open Mediterranean. Its harbors filled with ships from every corner of the known world. Phoenician traders with bright sails, Greek scholars seeking wisdom, and Egyptian fishermen returning from the reefs. At the edge of the eastern harbor, a small island named Pharos watches over them all. It is a place of rocky cliffs, white sands, and the endless whisper of the tide. But to sailors of that ancient age, the sea was a dangerous mystery. When storms rose and night fell, many ships never found their way home. They needed a guide, a light in the dark. This need for a celestial guide on earth fell to a man named Ptolemy I Sotai. He was one of Alexander's most trusted generals, a warrior king who now ruled Egypt. Ptolemy wasn't just a soldier, he was a visionary. He understood that for Alexandria to become the greatest city in the world, it needed two things: knowledge and trade. He founded the legendary Library of Alexandria, a beacon of the mind. Now, he needed a beacon for the sea. So, he commissioned the grandest project the world had ever seen. He chose the island of Pharos as the site for his masterpiece. The task of designing this marvel fell to an architect named Sustratus of Cnidus. His mission was simple in concept, but breathtaking in its ambition. Build a tower so tall it could be seen from miles away, topped with a fire so bright it could pierce the darkest night. It wasn't just about safety, it was a statement. This lighthouse would declare to every ship that approached, "You have arrived at the center of the world." Construction began around 280 BCE, and it was a monumental undertaking. Imagine thousands of workers toiling under the Egyptian sun. Massive blocks of limestone and granite were quarried from distant sites, floated down the Nile on barges, and then hauled into place. The base of the lighthouse was a fortress in itself, a massive square structure, rumored to house barracks for soldiers and storerooms filled with supplies. It was built to withstand the relentless power of the Mediterranean waves, which crashed against its foundations year after year. Above this square base rose the second level, an octagonal tower, each of its 8 sides pointing towards a different direction of the compass. And crowning it all was the third level, a slender, circular tower, which held the lighthouse's heart, the fire and its magnificent mirror. The final structure soared into the sky, reaching a height estimated to be over 100 meters, or about 330 feet. To put that in perspective, it was one of the tallest man-made structures on Earth for centuries, second only to the Great Pyramid of Giza. It was a skyscraper of the ancient world. At the very top of this incredible tower was where the magic happened. Every single night, a massive bonfire was lit. But a simple bonfire wouldn't be enough to guide ships from up to 35 miles away. The genius of the Pharos was its amplification system. Behind the fire, a giant, curved mirror, possibly made of polished bronze or even glass, was installed. This mirror captured the light from the flames and focused it into a powerful, single beam that shot out across the sea. During the day, it was said that this same mirror could be used to reflect sunlight, creating a shimmering beacon visible from afar. The lighthouse wasn't just a structure, it was a sophisticated piece of optical technology. A testament to the scientific brilliance of the Hellenistic age. The light it cast was a symbol of hope, a steady, unwavering presence that promised safe harbor and the wonders of Alexandria. Imagine being a sailor, tossed by a storm on a moonless night. You're lost, disoriented, fearing the jagged rocks hidden beneath the waves. Then, on the horizon, you see it a tiny, pulsating star. As you sail closer, that star grows brighter, stronger, a pillar of fire connecting the sea to the sky. It's the Pharos, guiding you home. For over 1,000 years, the Lighthouse of Alexandria stood as a guardian of the coast. It became a legend, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Travelers from Rome, Persia, and beyond wrote about it with awe. They described the intricate statues that adorned its levels, the complex machinery used to hoist fuel to the top, and the sheer, vertigo-inducing height of the structure. The Pharos was more than just a navigational aid. It was a tourist attraction, a military lookout, and a scientific research station. Some accounts even say that astronomers used its height to observe the stars and measure the curvature of the Earth. It was the living, breathing heart of Alexandria's connection to the wider world. The word Pharos itself became so synonymous with lighthouses that it is the root of the word for lighthouse in many languages today, like French, Italian, and Spanish. That's the power of its legacy. But like all great things in history, the reign of the Pharos was not eternal. The forces of nature that it was built to defy would eventually become its downfall. The Mediterranean region is prone to seismic activity, and over the centuries, a series of powerful earthquakes shook the foundations of the mighty tower. The first major blow came in the year 956 CE, when an earthquake caused significant damage to the top section. More tremors followed. In 1303, a devastating earthquake rocked the entire region, causing the upper tiers of the lighthouse to collapse into the sea. What remained was a crippled, broken stump of the once glorious tower. Another powerful quake in 1323 reduced it to little more than a ruin. For a time, the base was repurposed into a watchtower, a shadow of its former self, but the sea was relentless. Finally, in 1480, the last remnants of the legendary lighthouse were taken down. The Sultan of Egypt at the time used the remaining stones to build a defensive fortress on the same site, the Citadel of Capet, which still stands today. The light that had shone for over 1,500 years was finally extinguished. So, is the story of the Pharos over? Not quite. Even though the tower is gone, its spirit lives on. The Citadel of Capet, built from the lighthouse's own bones, stands as a physical reminder of its location and its historical importance. But the true legacy of the Pharos is in the light it passed on. In the 1990s, marine archaeologists exploring the waters around the Citadel made a breathtaking discovery. Lying on the seabed, covered in centuries of sand and sea life, were massive stone blocks, columns, and even sphinx-like statues. They were the long-lost pieces of the Lighthouse of Alexandria, tumbled into the sea by earthquakes so long ago. These underwater ruins confirmed the ancient descriptions of the tower's grandeur and gave us a tangible connection to this lost wonder. Today, there are plans and discussions about creating an underwater museum, allowing people to witness these relics in their final resting place. The Lighthouse of Alexandria was so much more than just a tall building with a fire on top. It was a symbol of human ingenuity, ambition, and our timeless quest to conquer the unknown. It represented a city that was a melting pot of cultures and a powerhouse of knowledge. It was a beacon that not only guided ships, but also illuminated the human spirit, showing that with vision and determination, we could build wonders that would be remembered for millennia. The light of the Pharos may have gone out, but its story continues to inspire us, reminding us that even in the darkest of nights, there is always a light to guide us home. It's a story of a dream built of stone and fire, a dream that, for a glorious time, touched the heavens. Imagine, if you will, the year to 90 BCE. Alexander the Great, the conqueror, has been gone for decades, but his most ambitious dream is now a breathtaking reality. This is Alexandria, a city built at the crossroads of continents, where the fertile Nile Delta kisses the vast blue Mediterranean Sea. Its harbors are a vibrant tapestry of life. Phoenician trading ships with their iconic purple sails bob alongside Greek vessels carrying not goods, but scholars, philosophers, and poets. Egyptian fishermen, their skin tanned by the sun, guide their red boats back from the distant reefs, their nets heavy with the day's catch. This city is a melting pot of cultures, a beacon of knowledge and commerce for the entire known world. Watching over this bustling scene is a small, rocky island named Pharos. It stands like a silent guardian at the entrance to the eastern harbor. Its shores, a mix of rugged cliffs and soft, white sands, constantly serenaded by the whisper of the tide. But for the ancient mariners, the sea was not just a highway for trade. It was a realm of terrifying mystery. The calm blue could turn into a churning, gray monster in an instant. When storms raged and the blackness of night swallowed the horizon, many ships, filled with precious cargo and even more precious lives, would vanish without a trace, lost to the unforgiving waves. They needed a guide, a light in the dark, a promise of safe harbor. Inside the grand royal palace of Alexandria, a man sits, his eyes fixed on a map of his sprawling kingdom. This is Ptolemy the First Soter, one of Alexander's most trusted generals, and now the ruler of Egypt. Unlike his predecessor, Ptolemy dreams of a different kind of greatness, one not forged in the fires of conquest, but built through creation, knowledge, and legacy. His court is filled with brilliant minds, but among them stands a quiet, unassuming man, Sostratus of Night. He is an architect, a visionary whose genius lies not in eloquent speeches, but in the magnificent structures that take shape in his mind. He has helped build this city of learning and art, a place that already rivals Athens in its splendor. One evening, as the palace is bathed in the soft, flickering glow of oil lamps, Sostratus approaches the king. He doesn't raise his voice. He speaks with a quiet intensity that commands attention. "Your Majesty," he begins, his tone respectful but firm. "We've created a city that will be remembered for its library, for its museum, for its wisdom. Now, let us build something for the world." He pauses, letting the idea settle in the grand chamber. Let us build a tower, not a fortress for war, but a beacon for guidance. We will place upon it a flame so powerful, so bright, that it will rival the stars themselves and guide every sailor safely to our shores. King Ptolemy listens, his gaze drifting into the shadows, picturing it. He had been thinking of monuments, of statues to his own glory. But this was different. This was noble. "A tower," he murmurs, the words filled with a newfound wonder. A tower to call the sailors home, and to carry the name of Alexandria to the very ends of the earth. And in that moment, a dream that would echo through millennia was born. The royal decree was given. The resources of a kingdom were mobilized. As the first light of dawn painted the sky, a symphony of creation began on the island of Pharos. Hundreds, then thousands, of workers gathered. The air, once filled only with the cries of gulls and the sound of waves, now rang with the rhythmic clang of hammers on stone and the shouts of foremen. Massive blocks of limestone, quarried from the white cliffs of the Egyptian heartland, began to arrive on board. Each block was a titan, weighing as much as a small ship, and it took the combined effort of countless men and ingenious wooden cranes to lift them into place. From a high, rickety scaffold, Sostratus watched it all, his simple robes whipping in the sea breeze. The salt spray misted his face as he surveyed the foundations taking shape. In his hands, he held a roll of papyrus, his true tool. On it were his sketches, the blueprints for a wonder. His design was unlike anything the world had ever seen. The tower would not be a simple column. It would rise in 3 distinct tiers, each a marvel of engineering and aesthetics. The base would be a massive square, solid and powerful, containing the rooms for the workers and the complex machinery to fuel the light. Above that, an elegant octagonal section would transition the structure towards the heavens, and at the very top, the pinnacle of his vision, a slender, circular cylinder. This was where the magic would happen. Here, A great fire would burn day and night, its light magnified by a mysterious curved mirror, a masterpiece of optics that would cast a beam of light visible for over 30 miles across the open sea. The entire structure would soar to a breathtaking height of nearly 450 feet. A man-made mountain of white stone and brilliant light. As the first layer of stones was set, the people of Alexandria would look out from their city and see the beginnings of a promise. A promise that no matter how dark the night or how fierce the storm, a light would be waiting to guide them home. The Pharos of Alexandria was no longer just an idea whispered in a palace. It was Racine, stone by stone, from the sea, destined to become one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Imagine, if you will, the year to 80 BC, the first light of dawn spills over the Mediterranean, touching the island of Pharos, just off the coast of Alexandria, Egypt. Here, a monumental task is underway. Hundreds of workers, their muscles straining, move like ants against a vast landscape. They are hoisting massive blocks of white stone, each hewn from the cliffs of Egypt, each as heavy as a small ship. The air is a symphony of creation, the rhythmic clang of tools against stone, the distant cries of seagulls, and the eternal, hushed murmur of the sea. From a high scaffold, a man named Sostratus surveys the scene. His robes whip around him in the salty wind, his eyes fixed on the rising structure. He is the architect, the visionary. In his hands, he holds a fragile piece of papyrus. On it, a sketch that defies the imagination. A magnificent, 3-tiered tower, a sturdy square base, an elegant octagonal middle, and at its pinnacle, a shining cylinder. This is where an eternal flame will burn, a new star created by human hands. He envisions it soaring nearly 450 feet into the sky, a titan of stone and light, visible 4 miles across the open water, a beacon to guide all who sail these treacherous seas. The days bleed into months, and the months stretch into years. The lighthouse doesn't just get built, it grows, like a living thing born from the earth. Every single stone is placed with a quiet devotion, a shared purpose uniting the workers. There are whispers, legends already forming around the architect. It's said that Sostratus, in a clever act of defiance and pride, secretly carved his own name into the stone, just beneath the surface. He then covered it with plaster, inscribing the king's name for all to see. He knew the plaster would eventually crumble, revealing his own legacy to future generations. A silent message echoing across the centuries. Sostratus Obnitus, to the gods who save those at sea. It was a testament not just to a king's power, but to the enduring spirit of its creator. After years of relentless effort, the day finally arrives. The tower stands complete, a wonder of the ancient world. Its polished marble walls gleam under the brilliant Egyptian sun, reflecting the endless blue of the sky. Inside, a marvel of engineering awaits. A complex array of polished bronze mirrors, angled perfectly, ready to capture and magnify the fire's glow into a powerful beam. As evening descends, a hush falls over the city of Alexandria. Thousands gather on the shore, their faces turned toward the island, their eyes filled with anticipation. The moment has come. A solemn procession begins. Priests clad in immaculate white robes ascend the long, winding staircase that spirals up through the heart of the tower. They carry torches of fragrant cedar and jars of rich oil. Following closely behind them is Sostratus, the architect. His heart is a drumbeat in his chest, a mix of profound awe and the heavy weight of accomplishment. He has dreamed of this moment for years, and now it is here. They reach the summit, the highest point of the known world, with the wind whipping around them and the entire city spread out like a carpet of jewels below. At the very top, in the lantern room, the individual torches are brought together. They merge into one great, roaring fire, a living heart of flame. The bronze mirrors are carefully turned towards the sea. And then, it happens. A breathtaking beam of pure, golden light erupts from the tower, slicing through the darkness of the night and stretching far out over the horizon. Down below, on the shores of Alexandria, a collective gasp ripples through the crowd. Sailors on the docks fall to their knees in reverence. Fishermen, far out at sea, lift their heads, their faces illuminated by a light that seems to touch the very heavens. For the first time in human history, the sea has a guardian, a constant, unwavering beacon against the unpredictable darkness, a light that would shine for more than 1,000 years. That night, long after the crowds have dispersed, Sostratus stands alone by the water's edge. The great fire he created flickers softly in the wind high above him, a distant, dancing star. He closes his eyes and listens to the deep, rhythmic breathing of the sea, the same sound that has accompanied his work from the very first day. May this light never fade. He whispers to the waves, his voice carried away by the breeze. May it guide all who wander, and remind the world that even stone and mortar can hold a dream. As if in answer, the tide gently rises, kissing the rocks at the base of the tower, and so begins the legendary story of the Lighthouse of Alexandria, story of light against shadow, of human ambition against the power of nature, and of a single beacon that defied time itself. In the royal palace of Alexandria, a king dreamed not of conquest, but of creation. Ptolemy, the first successor to Alexander the Great, sat before a vast map of his empire. His city was already a hub of learning and art, home to the great library, but he yearned for something more, a symbol that would echo through eternity. Among his advisors was a quiet, visionary man, Sostratus of Cnidus, an architect whose mind was filled with structures yet to be built. One evening, under the gentle flicker of an oil lamp, Sostratus broke his usual silence. "Your Majesty," he began, his voice barely a whisper. "We have built a city for the mind. Now, let us build a beacon for the soul, a tower, not for war, but for guidance, a flame so bright it will rival the stars." The king was captivated. The idea sparked in his mind. "A tower," he mused, "to call our sailors home, and to carry the name of Alexandria to the ends of the earth." And so, a legendary dream began to take shape. At the break of dawn, the small island of Pharos, just off the coast of Alexandria, came alive. Hundreds, then thousands of workers gathered, the air filled with the rhythmic clang of tools, the distant cries of seagulls, and the constant murmur of the sea. They were tasked with an immense challenge: to raise massive stone blocks, carved from the gleaming white cliffs of Egypt. Each block was a titan, weighing as much as a small ship, and had to be hoisted into place with precision and strength. From a high scaffold, with his robes whipping in the salty wind, Sostratus watched his vision unfold. On a sheet of papyrus, he had sketched the future. It was a magnificent, three-tiered tower, a sturdy square base to withstand the seas. Fiore, an elegant octagonal middle section, and at its very peak, a shining cylinder. This was where the eternal flame would burn, a constant star for those lost at sea. His design would soar nearly 450 feet into the sky, a structure so tall, so audacious, that its light would be visible for miles and miles across the Mediterranean. It would be the tallest man-made structure of its time, second only to the Great Pyramid of Giza. Imagine the scene: a bustling island dedicated to a single, colossal project. The raw power of human labor, combined with ingenious engineering, cranes and levers, pulleys and ropes, all working in concert to lift the impossible. The workers, a mix of Egyptians, Greeks, and people from all corners of Ptolemy's kingdom, toiled under the sun. Their sweat mingled with the sea spray as they laid the foundation for a wonder of the world. Sostratus wasn't just building with stone and mortars. He was building with ambition, with hope, and with a deep understanding of the forces of nature. He knew this tower had to be more than just tall. It had to be eternal. Days bled into months, and months stretched into years. The lighthouse grew slowly, organically, like a great stone tree sprouting from the island. Each block was placed with a sense of purpose, a shared devotion to the monumental task. The construction itself became a legend. Stories were told of the incredible feats of engineering, of the mirror system designed to amplify the flame's light. Some said that during the day, the polished bronze mirror could reflect sunlight so far it could be seen from over 30 miles away. At night, the fire, fueled by wood or oil, would be intensified by this same mirror, creating a beam of light that cut through the darkest storms a reliable guide for every mariner. The tower was a marvel of both art and science. Its three distinct sections weren't just for aesthetics. They were a masterclass in structural stability, designed to resist wind and waves. The lowest level, the square base, housed the barracks for the workers and soldiers who would guard and maintain the lighthouse. The middle octagonal section contained the mechanisms for lifting fuel to the top, and the final, cylindrical section held the fire and the legendary mirror. As the final stones were being set, a quiet act of defiance and legacy took place. Sostratus, the architect, knew that royal protocol demanded the king's name be displayed prominently on the structure. King Ptolemy's inscription would declare the lighthouse's gift to the gods and to the people, but Sostratus wanted his own contribution to be remembered, not out of vanity, but as a testament to the creator. Legend says that he first carved his own name deep into the stone. Then, he covered it with a layer of plaster, upon which the king's official dedication was written. Sostratus knew that time and weather would eventually wear away the plaster, revealing the true creator's mark beneath. His hidden inscription was a quiet prayer, a whisper across the centuries. Sostratus of Nid, son of Dexophanes, to the savior gods, for those who sail the seas. It was a message not for the king, but for the sailors he sought to protect, and for the gods he hoped would watch over them. For over 1,500 years, the Lighthouse of Alexandria fulfilled its purpose. It was not just a navigational aid, it was a symbol of human ingenuity, a beacon of knowledge, and the definitive landmark of one of the greatest cities in the ancient world. It guided countless ships safely into the harbor, protecting trade, knowledge, and lives. It was so famous that Pharos, the name of the island, became the root word for lighthouse in many languages, including French, Italian, and Spanish. A series of powerful earthquakes, striking the region between the 4th and 14th centuries, gradually chipped away at its grandeur. The mighty tower that had defied the sea for so long finally succumbed to the trembling earth. By the late 15th century, its last remnants had crumbled into the Mediterranean, its stones repurposed to build a nearby fort. The eternal flame was extinguished, and the great mirror was lost. Today, nothing of the great tower remains above the waves. The wonder of the world lives on only in historical accounts, in artistic renderings, and in our collective imagination, but its legacy is far from gone. Divers exploring the waters off the coast of Pharos have discovered massive stone blocks and statues believed to be the ruins of the lighthouse, silent testaments to its former glory. And more importantly, the idea of the lighthouse, the very concept of a guiding light in the dark. Every lighthouse that dots our coastlines today, every beacon that offers guidance and hope, is a spiritual successor to Sostratus's magnificent creation. The dream of Ptolemy and the genius of Sostratus didn't just build a tower of stone, they illuminated a path forward for civilization, proving that the greatest structures are those built not for power, but for protection and guidance. The flame on Pharos may have gone out, but its light continues to shine through history. Imagine a world where the sea was a vast, terrifying mystery. A world without GPS, without radar, where a single storm or a moonless night could mean the end for sailors far from home. This was the world over 2,000 years ago, but in one extraordinary city. A dream was taking shape, a dream of a light so powerful it could conquer the darkness and guide an entire civilization. This is the story of a wonder of the ancient world, a tower that touched the heavens, the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Our story begins in the year 290 BCE. The legendary Alexander the Great has been gone for decades, but his legacy thrives in the magnificent city he founded. Alexandria, a jewel set between the fertile Nile Delta and the sparkling Mediterranean, is the center of the known world. Its grand harbors buzz with activity, a vibrant tapestry of cultures. Imagine Phoenician trading ships with their iconic purple sails, Greek philosophers debating in the bustling marketplaces, and Egyptian fishermen hauling in their daily catch. It's a city alive with trade, knowledge, and ambition. Watching over this bustling metropolis from the edge of the eastern harbor is a small, rocky island named Pharos. It's a place of rugged cliffs and white sands, where the waves whisper endless secrets. But for the sailors navigating these waters, the beauty of the sea held a constant threat. When storms gathered and night fell like a shroud, the coastline became a treacherous maze. Countless ships, laden with precious cargo and even more precious lives, were lost to the unforgiving rocks. Their crews, never to see their homes again, they desperately needed a guide. A beacon of hope alight in the overwhelming dark. Inside the opulent royal palace, King Ptolemy I, one of Alexander's most trusted generals and his successor in Egypt, pores over a map of his sprawling kingdom. He is a man who dreams not of conquering new lands with the sword, but of building a legacy through creation, knowledge, and innovation. He has already established the great library, making Alexandria the intellectual heart of the world, but he feels something is still missing. Among his trusted advisors is a man named Sostratus of Cnidus. Sostratus is not a boisterous politician or a fierce general. He's a quiet, brilliant architect, a man whose mind is filled with magnificent visions of stone and light. One evening, as the palace is bathed in the soft, flickering glow of oil lamps, Sostratus approaches the king. He speaks not with force, but with the quiet confidence of a true visionary. "Your Majesty," he begins, his voice barely a whisper, "we have created a city of learning, a haven for scholars and artists. Now, let us build something for the navigators, for the merchants, for every soul who braves the sea. Let us build a tower not as a monument to war, but as a testament to guidance. A flame so brilliant it will rival the stars and be seen for miles." Ptolemy looks up, his gaze lost in the dancing shadows of the room. The idea ignites his imagination. A tower. A tower. A tower to call our sailors safely home, and to carry the name and glory of Alexandria to the very ends of the earth. In that moment, a shared dream was born, a dream that would soon be forged into stone and fire. And so, the grand endeavor begins. As the first rays of dawn stretch across the sky, the island of Pharos comes alive with the sounds of creation. Hundreds, then thousands, of workers converge on the island. The air fills with the rhythmic clang of hammers against chisels and the shouts of foremen directing the monumental effort. They are building not just a structure, but a symbol. Massive blocks of white limestone, quarried from the cliffs of Egypt and polished to a brilliant sheen, are transported to the island. Each block is a giant, weighing as much as a small ship, a testament to the incredible engineering prowess of the age. Using ramps, levers, and sheer human strength, these colossal stones are painstakingly lifted, one by one, into place. Day after day, week after week, the tower begins to rise from the rocky foundation of Pharos. The design itself is a marvel of three parts. The base is a massive square, solid and unshakable, housing the rooms for the workers and soldiers who attend the light. Above that rises an octagonal midsection, its 8 sides perfectly aligned with the winds, and at the very top, a circular tower reaching towards the heavens, where the sacred fire will burn. It is a fusion of Egyptian strength, Greek elegance, and a vision that is entirely new. Sostratus oversees every detail, ensuring each stone is perfectly placed, each angle precise. The people of Alexandria watch in awe as the structure grows taller, seeming to defy gravity itself. From the city's harbors, it appears as a white needle stitching the sea to the sky. For the sailors approaching the coast, it is the first thing they see, a promise of safety and civilization on the horizon. This isn't just a construction project, it's a collective act of faith and ambition, a monument being built by an entire people. As the years pass, the tower climbs higher and higher, eventually soaring to a breathtaking height of over 400 feet. That's taller than a 30-story modern skyscraper. It becomes the tallest man-made structure of its time, second only to the Great Pyramid of Giza. But unlike the pyramid, which was a silent tomb for the dead, this tower was a vibrant, living beacon for the living. Finally, the day of completion arrives. At the very summit, a masterpiece of engineering is unveiled. A massive, curved mirror made of polished bronze. During the day, this mirror will capture the sun's rays, reflecting a beam of light that can be seen up to 35 miles away. And at night, a great bonfire is lit, The fire's light, magnified and focused by the incredible mirror, transforms into a powerful, piercing beam that cuts through the darkest nights and the thickest fog. The first lighting of the Pharos is an event of legendary proportions. As dusk settles over the Mediterranean, King Ptolemy, Sostratus, and the citizens of Alexandria gather. With great ceremony, the fire is kindled. A roar goes up from the crowd as a brilliant ray of light shoots out across the water, a man-made star born on the shores of Egypt. For the first time in history, humanity has tamed the night. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, or the Pharos, as it came to be known, immediately changes the world. It becomes more than just a navigational aid. It becomes a symbol of Alexandria, itself a symbol of enlightenment, of human ingenuity, and of a city that stands as a beacon of progress in the ancient world. For nearly 1,500 years, its light shone, guiding countless generations of sailors. It was so magnificent, so inspiring, that it was named one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Though the tower itself was eventually lost to earthquakes in the passage of time, its legacy endures. The word Pharos became the root for lighthouse in many languages, a testament to its impact. The dream of Ptolemy and Sostratus to build a light to conquer the darkness never truly faded. It lives on in every lighthouse that stands guard on coastlines around the globe, a timeless reminder of our quest for knowledge, safety, and a way home. We find ourselves in the heart of Alexandria, in the royal palace of King Ptolemy, the first Sotyr. He was one of Alexander the Great's most trusted generals, and after Alexander's death, he inherited the jewel of the ancient world, Egypt. But Ptolemy's ambition wasn't just for conquest. He envisioned a different kind of greatness, one built not on the battlefield, but on knowledge, culture, and creation. And among his circle of wise advisors, there was one man whose genius would soon illuminate the world. His name was Sostratus of Cnidus. Sostratus wasn't a man of many words. He was an architect, a visionary whose mind was a gallery of magnificent structures. While others debated politics and war, Sostratus dreamt in stone and light. Imagine the scene. A quiet night in the palace. The only light comes from a soft, flickering oil lamp, casting long shadows across the chamber. It's in this intimate setting that Sostratus finally breaks his silence and approaches the king. He doesn't shout or command attention. His voice is as soft as the lamplight. "Your Majesty," he begins, his words measured and full of conviction. "We have built a magnificent city, a beacon of learning and art for all the world. Now, let us build a tower, not a fortress for war, but a tower for guidance, a flame so bright it will seem to touch the stars themselves." The king, lost in thought, turns his gaze from the map. The idea hangs in the air, a spark of pure genius. He murmurs the words, tasting their power. A tower to call sailors home, and to carry the name of Alexandria to the very ends of the earth. In that moment, a legendary dream was born. The dream of the Pharos of Alexandria. The king's decree echoed through the city. At the first light of dawn, the small island of Pharos, just off the coast of Alexandria, buzzed with activity. Hundreds, then thousands, of workers gathered, the air filled with a symphony of creation. The rhythmic clang of hammers against chisels, the shouts of foremen, the creak of ropes and pulleys, all set against the constant murmur of the sea and the cries of gulls. Their task was monumental. They were to raise a tower that would scrape the heavens. The building blocks were massive, carved from the brilliant white cliffs of Egypt. Each stone was a testament to human strength, weighing as much as a small ship. Imagine the sheer effort required to quarry, transport, and lift these colossal pieces into place. Overseeing this grand orchestra of construction was the architect himself. You could see him high above the ground, perched on a wooden scaffold, his robes billowing in the constant sea breeze. He wasn't just a distant commander. He was in the heart of the action. In his hands, he held scrolls of papyrus, the blueprints of his magnificent vision. He would sketch and resketch, perfecting every detail. The design was unlike anything the world had ever seen, a masterpiece of engineering and art. The tower would rise in 3 distinct tiers. The base was a massive square, strong and solid, anchoring the structure to the earth. Above it, the tower would transition into an elegant octagonal midsection, and finally, crowning the entire structure, was a circular cylinder. This was the lantern room, the sacred space where the eternal flame would burn. A promise of safety to all who sailed the Mediterranean. The planned height was breathtaking, almost beyond belief for the time. It would soar nearly 450 feet into the sky. To put that in perspective, that's about the height of a 40-story modern building from its peak. The light would be visible for miles and miles across the open water, a man-made star on the horizon. The construction was a slow, deliberate process. It was a marathon, not a sprint. Days bled into weeks, weeks into months, and months stretched into years. The lighthouse didn't just appear. It grew, almost like a living thing, rising stone by painstaking stone. Every block was placed with a sense of purpose, a shared devotion to creating something that would outlast them all. The project became a legend in its own time. People from all over the known world would come to gaze in wonder at the rising marvel. And as with all great legends, whispers and secrets began to weave themselves into the story of its creation. One of the most enduring tales concerns Sostratus himself. By tradition, the monument was to be dedicated to the ruling king, Ptolemy. His name and title would be inscribed for all to see. But Sostratus, the true mind behind the wonder, wanted his own legacy to endure, even if it had to be in secret. The story goes that he first carved his own name deep into the stone of the tower. The inscription read, Sostratus of Cnidus, son of Dexephanes, to the savior gods for those who sail the seas. Then, he cleverly covered his own words with a layer of plaster. On top of this plaster, he inscribed the official dedication to King Ptolemy. Sostratus knew that time and the salty sea air would eventually wear away the plaster. He gambled that one day, long after he and the king were gone, the superficial inscription would crumble, and his own name would be revealed to the world a silent, ingenious whisper across the centuries, ensuring his genius would never be forgotten. And so, the Lighthouse of Alexandria was more than just a building. It was a symbol of hope, a masterpiece of engineering, and a testament to the human desire to create, to guide, and to be remembered. It truly was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. What an incredible story of vision and ambition. It just goes to show how a single great idea can literally change the landscape of the world. Imagine a world where the night sea was a dark, treacherous mystery, a realm of fear for every sailor. Now, picture an island just off the coast of a bustling, magnificent city. This is the island of Pharos, and the city is Alexandria, the jewel of the ancient world. It's the 3rd century BC, and a dream is taking shape here. A dream that will pierce the darkness and change the sea forever. This dream belongs to a visionary king, Ptolemy, the first Soter, a former general of Alexander the Great. He envisioned a city that would be the center of commerce, culture, and knowledge. But for a city to thrive, its harbor needed to be safe. The coastline was treacherous, littered with hidden sandbanks and rocks that could shatter a ship's hull in an instant. Ptolemy knew he needed a guide, a guardian for those at sea. He imagined a tower so grand, so luminous, that it would be visible for miles, a man-made star to guide sailors home. But a king's vision needs an architect's hands. Enter Sostratus of Cnidus, a Greek master builder of immense talent and ambition. When Ptolemy presented his idea, Sostratus saw not just a building, but a legacy. This wouldn't be just another structure. It would be a wonder of the world, a testament to human ingenuity against the power of nature. The challenge was immense. How do you build a tower tall enough to be seen from across the sea, strong enough to withstand the relentless pounding of the waves and the fury of coastal storms? Sostratus chose the easternmost point of Pharos Island, a strategic location at the mouth of the harbor. The foundation was the first, and perhaps most critical, hurdle. He couldn't simply build on sand. Sostratus ordered massive blocks of stone to be laid directly onto the bedrock beneath the island, creating a foundation so solid it was said to merge with the earth itself. It was a slow, grueling process. Thousands of workers toiled under the hot Egyptian sun, quarrying stone, hauling it to the site and setting each block with painstaking precision. The design itself was a marvel of engineering. The lighthouse was not a single, uniform column. Instead, Sostratus designed it in 3 distinct tiers, each with its own character. The lowest section was a massive square base, rising like a fortress from its stone platform. It housed the administrative offices and barracks for the soldiers who would guard this vital structure. It was the anchor, the symbol of stability and strength. Above this square base rose the second tier, an elegant octagonal tower. This middle section represented a transition, reaching towards the heavens. Inside, a marvel of ancient technology was being constructed. A vast, gently sloping spiral ramp. This wasn't just a staircase. It was wide enough for a horse-drawn cart to carry fuel and supplies all the way to the top. Imagine the sheer genius of it. A roadway spiraling up inside a skyscraper, 2,000 years before elevators were even a dream. Finally, at the very peak, was the third and final tier. A slender, circular tower. This was the lantern room, the heart of the lighthouse. Here, a great fire would burn day and night. But the fire alone wasn't enough. The true magic lay in what was being installed behind it. A colossal curved mirror, forged from polished bronze. Some accounts even whisper it was made of obsidian or another highly reflective stone. Its purpose was to capture the flickering light of the fire and focus it into a single, powerful beam, projecting it far out into the Mediterranean. During the day, this same mirror would be used to reflect sunlight, creating a bright flash, visible for dozens of miles. Days turned into months, and the months stretched into years. The lighthouse grew like a living thing, each block of white marble placed with devotion and skill. Under the reign of Ptolemy II, the son of the original visionary, the project continued with unwavering commitment. The tower seemed to scrape the sky, a brilliant white beacon against the deep blue of the Egyptian heavens. As the final stones were set, a story began to circulate among the workers. Legend has it that Sostratus, the architect, knew his creation would outlast the memory of kings. The law dictated that only the reigning monarch's name could be inscribed on public works. So, Ptolemy's name was carved into the plaster on the tower's face for all to see. But Sostratus, in a moment of quiet defiance and pride, secretly carved his own name deep into the stone beneath the plaster. And beside his name, he wrote an inscription, a hidden whisper to the future. Sostratus of Cnidus, son of Dexophanes, to the gods who save those at sea. He knew that one day, the plaster would crumble, the king's name would fade, but the stone in his own legacy would remain. At last, the tower stood complete. Its gleaming marble walls shone in the sun, a structure of impossible grace and scale, soaring nearly 400 feet into the air. Its bronze mirrors were polished to perfection, ready to catch and amplify the fire's glow. The entire city of Alexandria held its breath in anticipation. Then, on a quiet evening, as the sky turned to dusk and the city gathered on the shore, the moment came. The final flame was brought forth. Priests in flowing white robes began their solemn procession, climbing the vast internal ramp, their torches of cedar and oil leaving a fragrant trail in the air. Sostratus, the architect, followed them, his heart a mixture of pride, relief, and profound awe. They reached the summit, the lantern room at the pinnacle of the world. The torches were joined, and one great fire roared to life in the brazier. The mirrors were carefully angled towards the sea. And then, it happened. A single, brilliant beam of golden light sliced through the darkness, stretching far out over the waves, touching the horizon. Down below, a collective gasp rippled through the crowd on the shore. Sailors on their ships fell to their knees on the docks. Fishermen in their small boats lifted their heads, their eyes wide with wonder, seeing a light that seemed to connect the earth to the heavens. For the first time in history, the sea had a constant, unwavering guardian. The Lighthouse of Alexandria was alive. For over 1,000 years, it stood as a symbol of hope and a marvel of human achievement. It guided countless ships safely to harbor, saving innumerable lives. Its light was said to be visible from up to 35 miles away, a constant, reassuring presence. It wasn't just a navigational aid. It was a statement. It was Alexandria declaring itself the center of the world, a beacon of civilization in every sense of the word. Throughout the centuries, the lighthouse witnessed the rise and fall of empires. It saw the arrival of Julius Caesar. It watched over Cleopatra's fleet, and it stood firm as the Roman Empire gave way to the Byzantine and then the Arab kill. It was damaged by storms and battered by earthquakes, but time and again, it was repaired, its light rekindled. It was more than stone and mortar. It was a part of the city's soul. That night of its first lighting, Sostratus stood alone on the shore, watching the waves roll in. The great fire he had helped create flickered high above him, a steady pulse in the night. He listened to the deep, endless breathing of the sea. "May this light never fade," he whispered into the wind. "May it guide those who wander and remind the world that even stone can dream." Titida rose, kissing the rocks below the great tower, as if the sea itself was whispering a promise in return. And so began the legend of the Lighthouse of Alexandria, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It is a story of light against darkness, of human ambition against the power of nature, of kings and storms, and of a magnificent beacon that, for a glorious millennium, defied time itself. That night, Sostratus stands alone by the waves, the fire above him flickering softly in the wind. He listens to the endless breathing of the sea. "May this light never fade," he whispers. "May it guide those who wander, and remind the world that even stone can dream." The tide rises, kissing the rocks below the tower, as if the sea itself answers. And so begins the story of the Lighthouse of Alexandria, a story of light and shadow, of kings and storms, and of a beacon that defied time itself. Close your eyes once more, and imagine the harbor of Alexandria. The first light of the lighthouse cuts through the mist of dawn. Ships glide silently across the water, their sails catching the gentle morning breeze. Sailors, weary from long voyages, see that golden beam stretching across the waves, and a deep sense of relief fills their hearts. Home is near. Safety is near. This tower, this flame, has become the pulse of the city. It's more than just stone and fire. It's a promise. Under its watchful eye, Alexandria thrives. The markets buzz with merchants from Babylon, Rhodes, and Carthage. Scholars from Greece debate philosophy in sunlit courtyards. Artists paint stories of gods and kings. The harbor is alive with colors, voices, and smells. But it's the lighthouse that gives rhythm to life here. Its glow marks the hours. Its flame reminds the city that even in darkness, there is guidance. Fishermen wait for the light to fade before setting out. Sailors returning from distant lands scan the horizon, searching for that familiar golden path. And students from the great library of Alexandria often pause their studies to gaze at the tower, wondering how human hands could create something so seemingly eternal. Over the years, legends began to grow around the lighthouse. Some whispered that the tower was alive, that the fire was a spirit whispering to sailors, "Follow me, I will guide you home." Others told of a phantom ship, seen only when the lighthouse shone bright. Its crew, forever lost at sea, sails alongside the light, a gentle reminder of both human vulnerability and enduring hope. One night, an old sailor tells a young boy, "When the storm comes and your heart trembles, look for the light of Pharos. It will never leave you." And that boy, decades later, will tell the same story to children who will one day walk those same harbor stones. But the sea is not always calm, and the sky is not always clear. A storm, unlike any before, gathers on the horizon. The wind howls. A beast awakened from a long slumber. Waves, monstrous and dark, smash against the shore, clawing at the foundations of the city. Panic spreads through Alexandria like wildfire. Merchants secure their wares, families huddle in their homes, and sailors in the harbor pray to their gods. From the top of the lighthouse, the keepers fight a desperate battle. The wind tears at the polished bronze mirrors, trying to extinguish the sacred flame. Rain lashes down, turning the stone steps into treacherous waterfalls. Yet, they do not falter. They know that out on that churning, black sea, lives depend on this light. They feed the fire, their faces grim, their movements precise, even as the tower itself groans under the assault of the storm. Out in the open water, a merchant ship, its mast, splintered, is tossed about like a child's toy. The crew, exhausted and terrified, have given up hope. Darkness surrounds them. The sea wants to claim them. Then, through the blinding rain, a flash, a steady, golden pulse. The lighthouse, it's still there. A surge of renewed strength runs through the sailors. With the beacon as their guide, they fight the waves, inching their way toward the safety of the harbor. The light is their anchor in a world gone mad. The storm eventually passes, leaving behind a scarred but not broken Alexandria. The city rebuilds, and the lighthouse, it stands tall, its flame burning as brightly as ever. It has faced the fury of the sea and won. Now, it's more than just a wonder of the world. It's a symbol of resilience, a testament to the idea that what we build with purpose and courage can withstand even the fiercest of trials. For centuries, the lighthouse stands. Emperors rise and fall. Dynasties crumble. The great library of Alexandria, with all its accumulated knowledge, turns to ash. But the light of Pharos endures. It becomes a constant in a world of change, a silent witness to history. It sees Roman galleys replace Greek triremes, and it watches as new faiths and new peoples arrive in the city. Through it all, its purpose remains the same: to guide, to protect, to offer hope. But time, like the sea, is a relentless force. Earthquakes, the slow, grinding teeth of the planet, begin to shake the foundations of the mighty tower. Cracks appear in the stone. First, the upper tiers crumble, and the great fire is extinguished, never to be lit again. The world's greatest light fades into silence. For another 100 years, the damaged tower remains, a majestic ruin against the skyline. It's no longer a beacon for ships, but a landmark for the soul, a memory of a golden age. Finally, another powerful tremor brings the last of the stones tumbling into the sea, the same sea it had watched over for more than a millennium. The Lighthouse of Alexandria is gone. Its stones now lie scattered on the seabed, home to coral and fish. The harbor is quieter now. The nights are darker. But is the story truly over? Walk along the coast of Alexandria today. You won't see the towering structure or its brilliant flame, but if you listen closely, you can still hear its echo. You hear it in the stories passed down through generations. You see it in the lighthouses that dot coastlines all over the world, each one a descendant of the great Pharaoh. You feel it in the unwavering human spirit that continues to build, to dream, and to create light in the darkness. The physical tower may be gone, but its idea, its promise, is immortal. So Stratus whispered a prayer that night for the light never to fade. And in a way, it never has. It has simply changed form. It lives on, not in stone and fire, but in the heart of every person who looks for a guide in the storm, in every act of creation that defies despair, and in every story that reminds us that even our most ambitious dreams can touch the sky. The Lighthouse of Alexandria taught us that what we build is not as important as asterisk. Why asterisk? We build to connect, to protect, to inspire. And that is a light that no earthquake, no storm, and not even time itself can ever truly extinguish. Over the years, legends have grown around the lighthouse, spiraling up its marble walls like ivy. Some say the tower itself is alive, that the fire at its heart is a spirit whispering to sailors across the water. Follow me, it seems to say. I will guide you home. Others tell tales of a phantom ship, a spectral galleon seen only when the lighthouse shines its brightest. Its crew, forever lost at sea, sails eternally alongside the light, a silent, ghostly reminder of both human vulnerability and our undying hope. I remember an old sailor, his face a map of countless voyages, telling a young boy by the harbor, when the storm comes and your heart trembles with fear, look for the light of Pharos. It will never leave you. And that boy decades later, with silver in his hair, would tell the same story to children with wide, wondering eyes. Children who would one day walk these very same harbor stones. You see, the lighthouse isn't just stone and flame. It's a living commitment. It demands care, devotion, and unending vigilance. Every single evening, a dedicated team of priests and engineers climbs those winding staircases, their footsteps echoing in the silence. They are the keepers of the flame, tending to the eternal fire, meticulously polishing the vast mirrors that multiply its power, and keeping watch over the dark expanse of the sea. Their one sacred duty: the light must not falter. Storms rage against its walls, winds howl like banshees, and colossal waves crash against its base, throwing spray hundreds of feet into the air. Yet, the tower stands firm, an unyielding, silent guardian over the restless, churning sea. And in the quiet moments between the gusts of wind, the watchers whisper to each other, their voices filled with awe and reverence. This is more than a building. This is hope. This is courage. This is humanity reaching for the stars. Word of this magnificent structure spread like wildfire across the known world. Kings, queens, and ambassadors journeyed from distant lands just to marvel at its dizzying height, to gaze upon the shining, godlike flame, and to bring lavish gifts for the city that had built it. Merchants, sailing back to their home ports, would write letters filled with wonder, describing a tower that seemed to pierce the very heavens. Poets, inspired by its unwavering glow, composed verses about a light that could touch the soul. And travelers, their journals filled with adventure, recorded countless stories of ships guided safely into the harbor, their crews singing praises to the tower that never sleeps. Even within the hallowed halls of the great library of Alexandria, the most precious treasure of human knowledge, there were scrolls dedicated entirely to the Pharos. These texts detailed its revolutionary design, the secrets of its eternal fire, the genius of its engineers, and, most importantly, the unbroken spirit of a city that dared to dream on a scale the world had never seen before. The lighthouse wasn't just a part of Alexandria. It was the heart of Alexandria, a symbol of its ingenuity, its wealth, and its ambition. Its light became a universal language, understood by every sailor, no matter their tongue. It meant safety. It meant civilization. Eat, miant, omi, for a ship tossed on a stormy sea. Seeing that pinprick of light on the horizon was like seeing the face of a loved one after a long and perilous journey. It was a promise that the dangers of the open ocean were behind them, and the warmth of the harbor was ahead. The light didn't just illuminate the water. It illuminated the path forward, cutting through the physical darkness and the darkness of despair. And so, the legacy was forged, not in stone or bronze, but in the hearts of people. The lighthouse became a story, a myth, passed down from one generation to the next. It was a testament to what we, as humans, can achieve when we work together, when we aim for something greater than ourselves. It showed that we could build something that would outlast us, a beacon that would continue to serve and inspire long after its creators were gone. It is a story of how a single point of light can hold back an ocean of darkness, a timeless reminder that even in the most turbulent of times, there is always a light to guide us home. Have you ever heard of a building so magnificent that its fame spread across the entire known world? A structure so legendary it was whispered about in the courts of kings and the bustling markets of far-off lands. Today, we journey back in time, to the Age of Wonders, to witness the glory of the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Imagine this: you're a king, a powerful ambassador, or a wealthy merchant. You've traveled for weeks, even months, hearing tales of a tower that scrapes the heavens. And then, you see it, rising from the island of Pharos, a colossal structure of white marble, so tall it seems to hold up the sky itself. At its peak, a flame burns, a man-made star so bright it can be seen from 50 kilometers away, a beacon in the vast, dark sea. This wasn't just a building, it was a statement. Kings and rulers from across the globe would arrive, not to conquer, but to marvel. They'd gaze up at its impossible height, feel the warmth of its perpetual flame, and leave lavish gifts for its brilliant builders. Can you picture the scene? The harbor of Alexandria, teeming with ships, the air filled with a dozen languages, all eyes drawn to the single, towering monument that defined the city. Merchants, upon returning home, wouldn't just talk about profits and trade goods. They'd write letters, their hands still trembling with awe, describing a tower that pierces the heavens. Poets, inspired by its ethereal glow, would compose verses about a light that touches the very soul, and countless travelers would record stories in their journals dailies of ships caught in treacherous storms, their crews lost and terrified, only to be guided safely into the harbor, singing praises to the tower that never sleeps. Even the legendary Library of Alexandria, the greatest repository of knowledge in the ancient world, held scrolls dedicated to the Pharos. These weren't just casual mentions. They were detailed records. They spoke of its ingenious design, the complex system of mirrors that amplified its fire, the names of the engineers who dared to dream it into existence, and the unyielding spirit of a city that believed in the impossible. The lighthouse wasn't just a part of Alexandria. It was the heart of its story. As years turned into decades, and decades into centuries, legends began to weave themselves around the stone and fire of the great tower. Some people whispered that the lighthouse was alive. They believed the fire wasn't just burning wood or oil, but a living spirit that spoke to sailors on the wind. "Follow me," it would whisper across the wave. "I will guide you home." It was a comforting thought for those facing the unpredictable fury of the sea. Others told a more haunting tale, a ghost story of the waves. They spoke of a phantom ship, its spectral sails, visible only when the lighthouse's beam shone at its brightest. Its crew, forever lost to the depths, was set to sail alongside the light, a silent, ghostly reminder of both human vulnerability and the enduring power of hope. It was a story told in hushed tones, a legend that added to the mystique of the Pharos. There's one story that was passed down through generations, a simple but powerful promise. One night, under the watchful eye of the tower, an old sailor sat with a young boy on the harbor stones. He pointed to the distant light and said, "When the storm comes, and your heart trembles with fear, look for the light of Pharos. It will never ever leave you." That boy grew into an old man himself, and he, in turn, told the very same story to his own grandchildren, who would one day walk those same harbor stones, forever connecting them to the legacy of the light. The lighthouse didn't just change the sea, it transformed the city. Alexandria thrived under its glow. Imagine walking through its streets. The markets are a chaotic, beautiful symphony of sounds and smells, buzzing with merchants from as far away as Babylon, Rhodes, and Carthage, all trading silks, spices, and stories. In sun-drenched courtyards, you can hear scholars from Greece passionately debating philosophy, their minds as bright as the Alexandrian sun. On street corners, artists paint vivid murals, telling the stories of gods and kings. The entire harbor is a living kaleidoscope of colorful sails, a chorus of different languages, and the salty scent of the Mediterranean. But it was the lighthouse that gave rhythm to life here. Its powerful beam sweeping across the sky marked the passing of the hours, more reliable than any clock. Its constant flame was a profound reminder to the entire city that even in the deepest darkness, there is always guidance, always a light to look to. The daily life of the city revolved around it. Fishermen would wait for the first hint of its light to fade at dawn before setting out for the day's catch. Sailors, returning from long and perilous journeys, would stand on deck for hours, their eyes scanning the horizon, searching for that first familiar flicker of a golden path on the water that meant they were almost home. And inside the great library, students and scholars would often pause their studies, looking up from their precious scrolls to gaze out the window at the tower. They would wonder in awe how mere human hands, with stone, metal, and fire, could create something that felt so timeless, so eternal. Now, picture the city at night. The markets are quiet, the streets are empty, and the great metropolis sleeps. But high above the harbor, the lighthouse burns steadily, its beam a silent guardian. In that quiet moment, you can't help but imagine all the lives touched by its light. A mother, anxiously waiting by her window, finally seeing the sails of her child's ship appear on the horizon, guided safely home by the tower. A young scholar in the library, inspired by the lighthouse's brilliance, dedicating his life to the pursuit of wisdom. A king, looking out from his palace balcony, smiling with pride, knowing his city is the brightest jewel in the world. All of this, the thriving city, the safe harbor, the legends, the hope. It all began with a vision, a dream to conquer the darkness, and the incredible courage to build something that would last for 1,000 years. The Age of Light had begun. The story of the Lighthouse of Alexandria isn't just a tale of stone and fire. It is a story that lives on in the hearts of anyone who has ever looked at the horizon, searching for a sign. It's a timeless reminder that guidance, hope, and wonder are always within our reach, if only we have the courage to look for the light. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more wonders of the ancient world, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Until next time, keep searching for the light.